The lesson.
Oh yeah.
So 360 started Rapper Tag. I'm pretty sure he was the first dude to put a video out. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, the whole concept was that at the end of the video, they tag in somebody and then that person does it.
Yeah.
Now, to my understanding, it got all the way through to Rapper Tag 47. And like we said before, shout outs to Deadly for his Rapper Tag, because that was, that's got to be my favorite of all of them, where he was DJing and he had some ill lines, man, in that. Now, what I got told was that when it got to the last one, 47, which was the Death Wish cast Rapper Tag, you got tagged in at the end of it.
Word.
And after that, that was it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard a few people go, oh, Trem killed Rapper Tag. Why didn't he continue it on and so forth? Tell us, I guess, your take as to why you didn't continue on with it.
Yeah, well, ultimately, you know, we've already briefed on 360 and him being, you know, coming up through that uncut, or through the ranks a little bit earlier on in his career. And when that all ended, you know, as we touched on before about how he, there was, you know, he had certain beef that carried on after we'd sort of parted ways and whatever, and our name got sort of brought back up into it for a period. You know, ultimately when that happened, I reached out to 360 and just sort of spoke my part on what I'd been told was said or typed or, you know, mentioned on a message board. And yeah, ultimately I just kind of said, you know, don't fucking use our name again. And in that scenario or any scenario ever again, you know, we're done, that's it. And to his credit, I believe he didn't, until, as I also mentioned, I heard that there was some minor digs in some tracks when he started putting out some of his own product. So, long story short, me saying that to him, you know, I held my end of that bargain as well. So to me, we'd gone different ways. He was on a pop path, I was on a rap path, and that's cool, you know what I mean? Good luck to whatever he wanted to do. We were doing our thing. So he's put some product out over, you know, the next period, whatever it was, and took mixed reviews, you know. Like I said, I haven't listened to his shit. And he, you know, some people believed it was pop, some people still rated it as hip hop, some people said, yeah, it's pop, but he raps, whatever, you know. Which at the end of the day is kind of is relevant, but neither here nor there, according to him. So I don't know how much later it was, but he's obviously kicked off this Rapper Tag thing. So firstly, you know, this kind of surfaces out of nowhere. Now, I'm not the biggest internet dude, so I don't, and particularly back then, way less. So, you know, those message boards, and I don't know if, I'm assuming it came up on YouTube first. I think that's where it started. You know, I was pretty green at it all, you know what I mean? I still buy my music, I don't get shit off the net, you know, so I sort of didn't really twig onto it straight away until then it started to come out, because I think the first one he tagged in was Strut. I think that's right. So that was kind of weird, but now Brad did it. I sort of didn't really have any communication with Brad about it at the time, and that's cool. You know, he had his reasons for wanting to do it. But I guess for me, I was kind of, I kind of thought it was a bit weird that this dude had sort of, we'd parted ways, he did what he did, and the hip-hop broader community was ultimately ragging on the dude, oh, he's a sellout, or he's whack, or he makes pop music, or he's, you know, whatever the case may be, you know. And then all of a sudden, when this Rapper Tag thing kicks off, which to my understanding was not an original concept either, but all of a sudden, and I'm not saying any one particular person out of all the people that did Rap Attack was this, but there was this broader sort of thing of people started getting excited about it and wanted to be a part of it. Now, to me, I sort of thought that was kind of weird because the same guys that were ragging on him, saying whatever they were saying, they all wanted to jump on board this thing all of a sudden, you know. Now, to me, that's a little bit hypocritical. I'd said my piece with 360 and we'd gone our own ways, and he wasn't speaking about me, and I didn't need to do anything that was related to him, you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, I guess it's kind of a case of I didn't want to sort of, I wasn't feeling it anyway, and I didn't want to really jump back in and help that dude out and ultimately give him some street credibility back, which all these guys that were hating on him ultimately did for him, you know? So that's kind of really where it went for me.
And then, so have you and 60 had a conversation at all since that time that you guys went your separate ways?
No conversations at all. While Rap Attack was in effect, I got approached, I think 2 or 3 occasions throughout it, to ask by guys that did it if I would be interested in taking it on, if they passed it to me. To which I politely declined. And, you know, and like I said, I you know, that's cool if they wanted to do that, that's fine, but it wasn't interesting me. And then the only really downside to it all, in my opinion, was that unfortunately, without checking, Death Wish Cast tagged me into it. And, you know, and my bad, because I didn't even give them an explanation. So, you know, I'll cop that one that, you know, that's my bad, because I respect Unique, Sir Rec, like, you know, we're talking about kings before, and that dude is a king of the culture, and I didn't even give him a reason or anything, so I kind of feel a little bit bad about that, to be honest with you. But, you know, it's just one of those things. I didn't want to buy into it. I didn't want to help the dude out, and, you know, guys had their own reasons for jumping on board it, whatever, backing it up, giving him the cred for kicking it off or whatever, and that's cool, that's their choice. But to me, you know, I didn't want to come off like that. So, you know, I basically said no, thank you, and yeah, it kind of I think it just folded, you know, and I don't know if Death Wish Cars ended up redoing. I heard that was the case, and they passed it on again or something. I don't know if that was the case, but yeah, I only checked probably half a dozen to 10 of them, you know, and I saw the Deadly one, that was fresh. But yeah, it wasn't something that really interested me. At the same time, you know, I think a lot more people bought into it than what it really was as well. So I wasn't paying it any mind while it was actually rocking. So if you'd like to think that, you know, even going back to say the beefs with Obese and Monopoly and anyone else that was brought into that, or anything else that LC's had going on, I think that people like to make bigger, you know, mountains out of molehill. And one of my very good friends and absolute king, and one of my main inspirations in the culture, Prowler, I think I learned from him subconsciously a long time ago to just, when you're in your lane, you just motor along happily anyway. So you could have a disagreement or a beef or an argument or not agree with this or whatever, but when you're doing you, it's you know, all the rest, it doesn't really matter. So I think people like to think that there was more to it than what there really was. Ultimately, it wasn't for me, and that was it, man. You know what I mean?
So then, if you say that you never gave Death Wish an explanation, they never, like, obviously once they tagged you and seen that there was no continuation, they never reached out to...
No, and that's not for them to do that, I don't think. I've had conversations with Sir Rec since, and, you know, like I said, Death Wish Cast are you know, true icons in our culture in this country. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably a little bit where I sort of thought, fuck, I wish they had reached out first to see if I was interested. At the same time, I don't know if that was protocol for it anyway. I think people were just calling out and everyone just kind of jumped on board for whatever reason. But yeah, it wasn't for me, and ultimately, you know, I probably should have at least reached out to Unique and sort of gave him my reasons why, you know what I mean? But anyway, I didn't, so.
So does that mean when they see this will be the first time that they actually...
Yeah, word up. Yeah. So, you know, Deathwish Cast, enough respect, Paulie, true king.
That's dope. That's what's up.
The lesson. 27. Oh, yeah.